The Remington shotgun trembled in her grip as boots thudded on the weathered porch. 2 riders, maybe more. Lydia backed against the cabin wall, her sister's faded shawl draped over the chair like a silent witness. "We know you're alone in there, sweetheart." 10 long years Caleb Reed had isolated himself on this Montana spread, loyal to his late wife's memory, until a month ago when her sister showed up with eyes like storm clouds and burdens that could shatter them both. Now those eyes aimed down the barrel, waiting for the man who'd vowed never to open his heart again. The door buckled under a kick. Would he make it back in time? And what would their tangled passion cost? The year was 1892, and the Montana frontier was still a land for tough men who staked their claims in steers and endless barbed wire. Caleb Reed fit right in 6'2" of hardened muscle and buried sorrow, running 150 head on 50,000 acres of rugged grassland that rolled toward the Rockies. His palms bore the marks, rope scars, branding iron burns, the rough edges of a guy who'd rebuilt his world once with dreams and again with sheer grit. Mary had passed 10 winters back, taken by a fever that swept through the valley like wildfire. He left her belongings untouched, the floral dress in the closet, her comb on the bureau, still holding auburn strands, the bed they shared now empty under blankets that smelled of sage and faded joy. Neighbors' wives dropped off stews. Their daughters lingered at the fence line with hopeful smiles. But Caleb Reed had loved once, deeply, and when that love burned out in a doctor's futile visit, part of him went with it. Letters arrived quarterly from Chicago, Mary's kin checking on poor Caleb, though they'd scoffed at her marrying a ranch hand. He tossed them in the fire unread until the one in September. Amelia's in a bind. She's fled a match with Victor Langford, the railroad baron. She's fixated on the solace Mary described in Montana. If she turns up, don't send her away. She's got no other refuge. Eleanor Thornton. He'd burned that one too, but the words lingered as October winds howled. The evening she arrived, he was fixing a gate under lantern glow when he rode home to find lamplight spilling from the windows, the first after-dark warmth his place had known in a decade. She sat at Mary's oak table, flipping through Mary's old journal. Caleb paused in the doorway, his pulse thumping. Same auburn hair, same slender fingers, same thoughtful tilt of the head. But where Mary had been steady like a calm stream, this woman was wildfire. "You're Amelia?" Lydia looked up, her eyes gray where Mary's had been green different, yet strangely familiar. "Sorry for barging in." The latch was open. No need for locks out here. He stepped inside, suddenly aware of his dusty boots and the whiskey on his breath. "Your folks are worried. My folks traded me for a stake in Langford's rail lines." Her tone had a bite Mary's never carried. "Victor wanted a trophy wife. I chose Montana's chill over Chicago's chains." Wind rattled the panes, the kind that heralded a brutal storm. "Below's coming," Caleb said. "I know." She shut the journal. Mary wrote about frontier, storms, how they could end you if you weren't ready, or redeem you if you faced them head on. What had Mary shared about this life about him? And why did staring at Amelia Thornton feel like suffocating and gasping for air all at once? She couldn't handle a stove charred the biscuits, oversalted the stew, and almost torched the place fiddling with Mary's cast iron range. "City gal," Caleb grumbled, scrubbing her mess. "I can figure it out." Amelia stood in the doorway, Mary's apron over her city gown. The sight twisted something in his gut. Mary did. Mary was built for this, wasn't she? He didn't respond, couldn't voice how Mary had been gentle breeze to Amelia's gale, how Mary slipped into ranch life seamlessly while Amelia battled every inch of solitude, the labor, the vast quiet. But she was tough, persistent. When he caught her in the barn at first light, attempting to saddle a horse with manicured hands, A crack formed at his walls. Like this. He stepped behind her, his rough palms over hers on the cinch. Firm, but careful. She smelled of lilac and resolve. When she leaned into him briefly, Caleb's breath hitched. There, she murmured as the strap tightened. Got it. You did. He pulled away fast, before regret turned to action. The dust storm hit 4 days, later howling winds that blinded everything beyond the cabin, sand blasting like buckshot. Caleb tallied half his herd vanished, scattered in the choking haze. Gotta round 'em up, he told Amelia, yanking on his duster. In that, you'll choke out there. They're my livelihood. But she was already grabbing Mary's wool coat, jaw set in that familiar stubborn line. Then I'm with you. No way. You need backup, and I need to earn my keep here. Does she belong? And what toll would proving it take? They located the steers in a gulch 3 miles west, half buried but breathing. By the time they herded them back, Amelia's face was raw from grit, her fingers numb. Caleb stoked the fire, brewed tea spiked with bourbon. She huddled in blankets, shivering. Thanks, he said softly. For what? Not quitting. She met his gaze over the mug, and for a second, he saw not Mary's echo but Amelia Thornton fierce, unyielding, radiant on her own terms. Is this what Mary felt? This sense of place. Mary didn't fight for it. Maybe that's why I have to claim what she never questioned. The words echoed like thunder. Caleb rose abruptly, seeking refuge in space. But that night, in his solitary bed, he strained for her breath from the spare room, pondered the warmth of companionship after endless cold. When he heard her soft sobs, muffled like she hoped he'd miss them, it took iron will not to cross that threshold. Some fights, he figured, were solo. The outlaws rode in on a Wednesday, while Caleb was in town for wire and feed. Amelia spotted them from the window, 3 men on wiry mounts, riding with the cocky swagger of wolves. She'd heard tales in Chicago of frontier bandits preying on lone homesteads miles from the law. Mary's journal mentioned them vaguely, drifters who struck fast and vanished. She grabbed the Remington from the rack over the hearth. Her hands quaked as she loaded shells. She'd never squeezed a trigger. Anyone home? The leader's voice dripped false politeness, like a con man at a fair. Amelia stayed mute, willing them gone. They weren't. The door splintered with a boot heel, the big one stepping through, hat tipped mockingly. Well, hello, darling. All by your lonesome. His gaze crawled over her like slime. Husband's out. Won't return till dusk. Her voice held steady, belying the terror. Plenty of time to chat. The second appeared, stocky with a jagged scar across his cheek, leering. Or more than chat. The shotgun weighed a ton. Back off. Or what? You gonna blast us, little miss? The leader chuckled. She leveled it at his chest, mimicking how she'd seen Caleb practice. I know enough. He lunged. The blast roared, buckshot shredding the wall beside his ear. They froze. Next one's in you. She pumped the action. For shells left. The leader's eyes narrowed, weighing her shake. You got guts, but can you hit both? They split, flanking her. Amelia retreated to the table, swinging the barrel. Easy now, Scarface cooed, hand on his revolver. No need for mess. Plenty of need if you don't leave. The leader drew slowly. Amelia fired, clipping his arm. He yelped, blood spraying. 3 left. Scarface yanked his piece. You bitch. Her aim wobbled from the rush. He leveled at her heart. Death stared back, cold and certain. The door burst open. Caleb stormed in like vengeance incarnate, his peacemaker drawn. He scanned the chaos. Amelia cornered. The bleeding thug slumped, Scarface aiming true. Drop it. 2 words. Lethal calmed the tone of a man who'd faced down worse. Scarface wavered. Caleb's shot barked, shattering the outlaw's hand. He howled, crumpling. Both of you get. or I finish it. They scrambled out, blood trailing across Mary's scrubbed floor. Hooves pounded away. Amelia stood rigid, shotgun gripped tight. The adrenaline crash hit. Amelia! Caleb approached slowly, like taming a wild mare. It's over. She looked at him, seeing the raw fear he masked for her, for what almost was. I thought. Her knees buckled. He caught her, pulling her close. His heart raced against hers. You held him off. Mary's gun in Thornton's hands, those fools didn't stand a chance. She lifted her face, inches apart. He could trace the freckles on her nose, the determination in her eyes. Electricity crackled. This was at the brink. They both sensed it. Caleb. Her whisper shattered his resolve. 10 years of isolation, 10 years of devoted mourning, 10 years convincing himself love was a one-time deal. But Amelia Thornton was real, vibrant in his arms, gazing like he was her anchor. He kissed her soft at first, a tentative spark, then fierce, a decade's hunger unleashed. She tasted of grit and grit. Her fingers clutched his shirt, drawing him nearer. Caleb forgot the world beyond this fire. He eased her against the table, lips trailing her throat. She arched, gasping a sound that ignited him like dynamite. Amelia. His hands fumbled her buttons. She tugged his belt. Madness, betrayal, but it felt utterly right. Her gown fell, baring pale skin in the lamplight. She stood vulnerable yet bold, desiring him fiercely. Caleb reached and froze. On the mantel, Mary's tintype gazed eternally, his wife, his first flame, who'd whispered forever vows as fever claimed her. Guilt slammed like a stampede. I can't. He retreated, breath ragged. Lord, I can't. Amelia's expression shattered. Caleb, this is Mary's home. Mary's life. Mary's. He trailed off, unable to say husband without breaking. She gathered her clothes, tears spilling. I get it. I could never replace a saint. She brushed past the bedroom, door clicking shut like a coffin lid. Caleb stood amid the debris, his iron control in ruins. Outside, winds moaned. Inside, silence bled. Mary's photo smiled unchanging. Some oaths endured eternally, but what when eternity crashed into now? When loyalty warred with longing? When a ghost barred two beating hearts? By dawn, Amelia had vanished. The note was brief. Thanks for the glimpse of what Mary cherished. Sorry, I couldn't measure up. Train departs Billings at midday. Hey. Caleb read it thrice in the chilly kitchen. Coffee stale, fire embers. The air felt hollow without her. He ought to let her fade, count blessings that sin halted before it damned them. Instead, he saddled his sturdiest gelding. The trail to Billings wound 42 miles over rocky plains. Caleb rode hard, horse lathering. A distant whistle pierced the air closing in. Too far? But he spurred on, because some regrets outweighed caution. After all, 10 years of grief taught the sting of unspoken truths. After all, Amelia Thornton merited love in her own light, not a shadow. The station emerged through Hazia hub of tracks linking Montana to the world. The eastbound huff steam, folks boarding for Chicago, St. Louis, the east bustle. He spotted her on the platform, slight in her coat, gripping a valise like a lifeline. She eyed the train like a noose. Caleb tied his horse, boots echoing. She turned, face cycling hope, dread, acceptance, maybe affection. You came. The whistle blared. All aboard. He closed the gap, seeing her unshed tears. A conductor barked stops. Chicago points east, the realm of tycoons and arranged fates. Wheels groaned, inching forward. He extended his hand. Come home, Amelia. She glanced at the departing cars, his palm. The vast Montana heavens promising hardship but honest love, the kind that rooted deep like prairie grass. She clasped his fingers. The train chugged off, hauling others to distant destinies. Caleb and Amelia stood entwined, watching it vanish. She smiled not Mary's serene grin, but something wholly hers. Took me forever to see I wasn't fleeing from, but to this. They headed to his horse, two souls against the horizon. Above, Montana's sky sprawled endlessly, brimming with trials and triumphs. Ahead lay a life rebuilt, not erasing Mary, but honoring her by embracing the now. What do you think? Should Caleb have stayed loyal to his late wife's memory forever, or was pursuing his second chance with Amelia the right move? Drop your take in the comments below. Share if you agree love deserved another shot, or argue why some bonds are unbreakable even in death. Let's debate.